Well, my dissertation is historical. It's about ancient Greek history, and it's about Civil War history. Technically, it's about the Gettysburg Address and the Gettysburg Addresses, the two men that gave speeches that day, Abraham Lincoln and Edward Everett, who gave the long speech. So they're about history, but the dissertation really focuses on three speeches. So it's about rhetoric, too. And so I have to be aware as I'm describing these three speeches, not just here's where these men were, here's what they said, now let's move on. It's here's what they said, here's the circumstances, here's the environment, here's the audience, here's the mission, here's what they want to accomplish, here's the immediate goal of the speech, but here's also part of the backstory, here's the rest of the story, here's what they really are trying to accomplish in these speeches. And I think writing history can wind up being the same kind of thing. Without politicizing it, you do want people to read what happened, and you want them to have a perspective on it that is yours. At least I assume that I do. I don't know about other writers, but that's what I want. I want people to see it the way I see it. So that means that you are writing about history in a way that's also, in a sense, it's about making an argument. It's about comparison and contrast. There's all these kinds of things that are rhetorical patterns that I think can work their way into history, especially if you are trying to put a sense of drama to it and trying to get people into it, attached to the information or the people or the circumstances involved, and make them really feel something. Not just know something more, but to feel something more about whatever it is.
So I'm gonna ask one more question that I wasn't gonna ask, but so obviously you know this, but rhetoric for a long time sort of considered spaces and where people were and what they were surrounded by, and even the tone of their voice is just the backdrop.
Sure.
Where the real rhetoric occurred, the real words occurred, and sort of the words were the focus of everything. We've gone sort of spatially against that a little bit, not to say that doesn't mean anything, but to say it's sort of one X, but there's lots of X's happening all at once, and so where they are is an X, and what they're saying is an X, and the people that are there is an X, and so there's all of this stuff happening. So I guess the question really is, can you expand a little bit on why for you the places and the spaces and the materials and all of that stuff is a focus in your writing and not so much in other history writers' writing? Is that a shift that's coming, do you think, or is it just simply you've picked up on that and you include it in order to gain sort of that narrative interest? Or I just want to unpack that.
Well, what I don't want to do in my writing is just bore people. I mean, it seems to me sometimes when I read history that the person who wrote it didn't care if he or she was boring, or that there just wasn't any real spark of life in what they're telling you. They're just writing about what happened. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to read. A fair amount of my audience has been over the years younger readers. Well, okay, I am not going to get an audience out of a younger reader for any amount of time at all if I don't give them a kick as they're reading it. In other words, the kid who picks up one of my books and reads 3 pages, and if it isn't going to pull that person in, they're going to put it down and say, that's no good, and they're going to walk away from it. Okay, I don't want that. I want them to pick it up and start reading. That's why the first paragraph is usually very important to me. We use that term hook to pull people in, and I take that seriously. Usually I want that first scene created to, usually it's something that is just a slice of what's going to be a larger picture in the context of the book, but it's an exciting slice and it pulls the reader in. I want that. I want readers to be pulled in. I don't want to just put words on paper and send it to a publisher and get a check and walk away. For one, they probably won't ask me to do a second book. So I always have to be aware of audience and those kinds of things. So I yes, we probably need to back up and ask your question again. I'm not sure I answered it directly.
Well,